Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime, back for another video and... oh, wait. Hang on. There we go. Anyway, today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Evolution Velocitron Speedia 500 Collection Cosmos and Blurr. And now taking a look at the packaging here, right up front here, we got a nice image of them in their robot modes right there on the side. I love the Blurr and Cosmos artwork. You got them in their vehicle modes up there. It says Velocitron 500, Speedia 500 Collection, has their names right there. They're both Autobots, Transformers Legacy, Transformers Generations, and then here on the side, more of them. And, yeah, some pretty nice product shots going on. Authentic Transformers! Anyway, that is basically it for the packaging here. I don't know, maybe I should keep the packaging for Cosmos. I mean, he is kind of a rare, hard-to-find figure. Nah. And before we get into the accessories and the actual review, yes, I do have a Cosmos. I am very happy with him, and I am aware how hard he is to find. And no, you can't have him. He's mine. Go away. And now with that out of the way, taking a look at the accessories here, starting with Blurr. Blurr here comes with this nice baby blue, kind of pastel blue colored rifle here, looks pretty nicely sculpted, and he also comes with this little welding tool thing that comes out of his hand. These are reused accessories from the 86 Blurr, only those were cast in white plastic. And then Cosmos here comes with a little checkered flag here, which I really like that. And if you don't want him with the checkered flag, you can remove the flag right off and you can give him a pistol. Also, the checkered flag here is double-sided. It has a white end and then the checkered end, so you technically could also have him giving a formal surrender. And then as for weapon storage, here on the bottom of Blurr, there's a little notch that you want to stick the gun into, and then you also take his little welding torch thing and you stick it right on top of that. That's where all that goes. And then for Cosmos, it's just, you know, you have the 5mm peg and you stick it wherever there's a 5mm port. And there you go. It's not elegant, but it's something. And starting off with Blurr here, right off the bat, before I get into anything else, I do want to say I think this is probably my favorite version of Blurr that they've made so far, because let's face it, that Studio Series 86 figure is nice, it's kind of sleek, but the face sculpt is a little unsettling, and honestly, I don't really like the proportions on that figure as much. Also, I'm just very biased toward the comic book designs. Even though this isn't labeled a comic book universe figure, it is basically it's just the comic book design. I just realized I didn't flip his little seat thing up. Don't worry, guys, I'm a professional. Shut up. Very nice Autobot logo there inside the windshield. I like this clear plastic right here. It's very like bright looking. I also love all the retooled parts here from the 86 figure. All the retooled parts really make it feel like a completely different figure than that one. But I still wish some of this silver was highlighted throughout the figure. Also, another thing about this figure that I also like is how I like the color scheme a little bit better, just a little bit better. And also this guy's got 5mm ports back here, so you can make him look all super fast with some blast effects. And overall, the vehicle looks fine, though he doesn't have any rolling wheels on the bottom, so he just ends up sliding on the ground at supersonic speeds. And yeah, my backdrop just keeps getting worse. And now taking a look at Cosmos in his nuclear bomb button alternate mode. Speaking of nuclear bomb buttons, is anyone going to go see Oppenheimer? Overall, on Cosmos' little flying saucer mode, I love the painted details here because it gives a lot of, like, you know, extra, like, depth to the figure with the silver, the Autobot logo, the different shades of blue, little bits of silver right here. Same thing goes for this olive green with this dark navy green. Definitely like how that looks. Got little ports right here. He's also got little pegs right here for his little guns at the front. You can definitely stick some blast effects in those. And then he also has his little thrusters poking out of the back right there. Little bits of yellow poking through, which I actually don't mind the bits of yellow. I think it adds a little bit of character to the whole vehicle. And overall, I just love how teeny and chubby looking this teeny little vehicle mode is. Vehicle mode kibble's also very minimal, like there's barely anything here. Like I have no complaints for this Cosmos. He really is a pretty good figure in his alternate mode. Okay, I'm just gonna push it one more time. Ha! You guys thought I was gonna make it explode there, didn't you? And then here is Blur compared next to Blur for some really quick size comparisons. Get it? It's Blur, because it's quick, because it's Blur. And then here is Blur and Cosmos compared next to the last, Velocitron Speedia 500 collection figures I took a look at, the Voyager class Override and Leader class Scourge. Anyway, that's it for the comparisons. Let's now get into the transformation for these two without losing my mind. I don't know why, but Cosmos' transformation reminds me of opening up an avocado.
Avocados from Mexico!
Here's now taking a look at Blur and Cosmos in their robot modes. And here's now taking an up-close look at Blur. And yeah, as I said before, this guy is directly based off of the IDW Blur design. This is obviously that head sculpt with the famous little wing fins right there on the side. And overall, I like, again, his blue colors here. And I also like the retooled parts. And to my knowledge, the head, the shoulders, and the forearms and these bits right here are all retooled parts. And the crotch is also retooled, but everything else is borrowed directly from the 86 Blur figure. And overall, again, as I said before in the vehicle mode, this is my preferred Blur figure of all the figures they've come out with. Again, I love the transparent plastic on the window, really sparkles right here in this mode, and it is complemented by the rest of the blues and grays right here. And his accessories look pretty good in hand. I guess this little welding torch thing could also be seen as a, like a drink dispenser. Since this guy was, trying to be a bartender in the comics. But yeah, overall, I think the figure is pretty dang good with all its molding and sculpting, but he doesn't just look fast, he also poses like he's really fast. That kind of didn't make any sense, but just go with it. So Blur has a ball joint at the base of the neck, which allows for his head to look up and down a little bit and swivel all the way around. Shoulders rotate a full 360. They can move in and out, and they can shift a little bit. He also has an elbow swivel and a 90 degrees of bend at the elbow. Sadly, the wrist swivel is connected to this transformation hinge, so it's completely useless. He does get a buttery smooth waist swivel. His hips can rotate forward that far, they can rotate back that far, they can move outward that far. He does get a limited thigh swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and then his ankles can hinge up, they can hinge, flat, and then he does have some ankle pivot as well. So very good articulation on Blur. I mean, you are able to get some really fast and, like some running poses out of this guy at the very least. And now taking an up-close look at Cosmos here, I love the way how he looks, especially those bright blue eyes really shine through. Part of me is, the longer I look at his head, the more his head starts to look like cake. Also, by the way, is this his mouth guard, or does he just have a really big nose? It's a cartoon character, let's just not question it, let's just move on. Coming down to the chest, again, I love this extra detail that's brought over from the vehicle mode into the robot mode. Again, gives him a lot of depth, especially now that he has both the green and yellow to also complement it. He has the yellow and green to also give him the extra, pop that he needs along with that chest piece. Also, I love a lot of the sculpted detail here. I love how round he looks.
These arm gaps are pretty cringe, though.
And again, a lot of these sculpted and painted details from the ship mode are now present, only with a lot more yellow to really make this guy pop. I love how the yellow, a lot of this yellow actually hid away pretty well in his flying saucer mode. Also, I like these little sculpted barrels right here. Kind of invokes those like hot rod, like exhaust guns on his arms, so that's always fun. And yeah, this guy is pretty short, and he is pretty small, and I absolutely adore him. He is adorable. And his posability is also adorable. Let's just go with it. I don't write or script any of this. Ball joint at the head, which allows for a lot of range, lots of swiveling, looking up and down, and head pivoting. Shoulders rotate a full 360. He can move in and out. He does get a bicep swivel, 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, and the wrists can hinge in and out. He does get a nice waist swivel right there. His hips can rotate back, they can rotate forward. He does also get some side skirts, which allow his legs to kick outward. He does have a thigh swivel, and then he does have a knee bend, and then finally he has a ankle pivot. So very, very good articulation on this guy. It's just a real shame though, he does have a little bit of back kibble, but thankfully, I don't really mind it all that much. As much as I love seeing the comic book designs made into physical figure form, it is also nice to get a G1 accurate version of Cosmos that's this high quality of a figure, especially considering that almost every storyline with him in the 80s cartoon ended up with him like crash landing or getting stuck somewhere. Cosmos was literally used as a plot device in the cartoon. And now for a really quick size comparison, here is Blurr compared next to the 86 Blurr. And again, I do really like both of these figures, but the IDW design is just a lot more appealing. Prince Productions, if you're watching this, barricade your doors. He's coming for you. And then here is Blurr and Cosmos compared next to my last Velocitron Speedia 500 collection figures I took a look at, the Voyager class Override and Scourge. That's it for comparisons. Oh my gosh, this freaking camera. And that is basically it for my review on the Deluxe Class Cosmos and Blurr from the Legacy Velocitron collection. And yeah, a lot of people are probably asking the question, is Cosmos worth it? Is he worth all the trouble of buying on eBay or buying off of whatever stupid person has him for like $800 something, and is he worth it? Not really, but he is a very fun figure. I do still think he's worth maybe like going as far as to maybe 40, 50 bucks if we're really pushing it. But at the very least, I'm just glad that I got really lucky in finding him in store that one time.
I looked to the heavens and I was staring at the cosmos.
Blurr is also a really good figure as well. Again, it is the best version of Blurr Hasbro has put out so far. It takes everything I liked about the 86 figure and just amplifies it by 100. And also, he's based on the comic book figure, which I obviously have said before, I prefer the comic book design. And yeah, that is basically it for the review. If I had to give these guys a ranking for Cosmos, I give him a very, very solid 9 out of 10. I'm very happy with him. And the Blurr, I give him a solid 8 out of 10. That is basically it for this review. If you guys liked it, give me a like on the video, comment below what you guys think, subscribe to the channel for more Transformers and action figure videos, and
Alright, time to launch those nuclear warheads.